So when you go and sit there and you think about, the best iPhone Apple has ever made, you probably think of something like an iPhone 10, possibly the iPhone 13s that just came out, maybe even like an iPhone SE 2 for some of you who like those cheaper, smaller phones, or even the iPhone 12 mini, but very rarely will people ever think of an iPhone 6S. And in my opinion, I really do think that the iPhone 6S is one of the most underrated iPhones that have ever came out, and that pretty much goes without saying. I don't think even people really remember this iPhone too much. If you currently don't own it, I really don't think people are super obsessed with it or super crazed about it, and people would definitely not think it's a big design change or a big update in really any way, because the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus were pretty much those big iPhones that Apple went ahead and released at that time in 2014. Now, stemming back, actually, the iPhone 6S and 6S Plus, from the numbers that I saw, and you can go look in Wikipedia and look at it for yourself, besides I think the iPhone 3GS or the iPhone 3G, the iPhone 6S are some of the worst selling iPhones Apple has ever made. I think the iPhone SEs and the iPhone 11s and iPhone 8 Pluses, all those iPhones kind of sold more units than the iPhone 6S and 6S Plus, but it's still very strange to me because the iPhone 6S was actually a pretty big update and one of the biggest updates I've ever seen from any iPhone. Now on the exterior, really nothing changed. We got Touch ID 2, we got a new rose gold color, so you wouldn't really think so you couldn't really tell that big of a difference from an iPhone 6 to an iPhone 6S, but a massive thing to keep in mind is that this iPhone was the first iPhone to bring Force Touch, which is now a defunct feature technically because Apple doesn't really, make displays with Force Touch anymore. But that was a pretty big thing at that time. And when Apple was actually removing it, people were super upset about it. We've kind of got used to it now. But another big thing is that this was actually one of the last iPhones that were a flagship to bring that headphone jack. To a lot of people, that may not be a crazy big deal anymore, but people were super not happy about it at all. But even beyond that, internally, there were a lot of different things that changed. This was the first iPhone set to actually bring more RAM than the previous 1GB of RAM that we had. So before that, I think the iPhone 4S had 512 megabytes of RAM or something. The iPhone 5 brought 1GB of RAM. And then with the iPhone 6S, we actually got 2GB of RAM, which may not seem crazy, but considering the fact that the iPhone 13s have 4 gigs of RAM, so that's quite a bit of RAM to have on an iPhone like this, so that's a pretty big deal in and of itself. But on top of that, with the iPhone 6S, this iPhone was the first iPhone to bring 4K video resolution on the back of this device. So just that in and of itself, it may not have changed too much in the exterior, but even that isn't true because this iPhone, if you guys remember, came after Bendgate, which the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, they bend it easily. And with the iPhone 6S, Apple stated that it was way more durable, that it's almost unbendable, which it's still completely bendable, but they said it was more rugged and, could handle a little bit more force to it. So that was another big update for sure. And then the cherry on top, the craziest thing that we couldn't even tell until now with the test of time, was the fact that Apple was going to continue to support this iPhone for so many years past its predecessor. With the iPhone 6, that iPhone stopped getting support at iOS 12, and that phone came out in 2014. In 2015, the 6S came out, and that phone is still supported. We are so many years into its life cycle, and it is so impressive that Apple was able to continue to support this iPhone. And when people look at this iPhone, they probably still think it's an iPhone 6. And I truly do think that the 6S is one of the best updates for sure. And I'm a humongous fan of this phone, the 6S Plus as well. And I really do think that if you have an iPhone 6S, you should cherish it. I probably wouldn't recommend picking it up anymore, but I really do think it's one of the most underrated iPhones that were ever made. So that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.